Alright, so in this video, we're not going to start loading our conversation in our chat. Right now, I'm logged in with 2 users and I just created a swipe match. So now, when we go to our chat, we want to get this conversation, for example, here 4, and load it and actually show our actual receiver and load our conversation. So for that, let's go back to our chat. In here, let's open the app Livewire chat component, this one. In here, first I'm going to create some public variables. This will be the one which is received in the URL as a parameter. Also public conversation and public receiver. Alright, after that, in the mount, let's define the mount function. First of all, we're going to make sure that when this is loaded, right now on this page, we want to make sure that the user is actually authenticated. So for that, we can say abort unless auth check. This just checks if the user is authenticated or not. It's going to return a bool value, and the error here should be 401. Unauthorized is okay. So after that, now let's get the conversation. This conversation here, we can get the conversation model, find or fail, because if you don't find the conversation, we just want to return a 404 and not continue our code. We can say this chat. Right, so this chat, this is just an ID which will be passed here in our URL, this one. If you go to the web and check, remember we added this one, the chat. So this one is going to be called in here as this public variable, and I'm going to use it right here, this chat. In here, let's check, belongs to conversation. So here we can say this one, the auth user. Let's get the conversations for this user, where the ID is this conversation, the one we just got from here, this conversation ID. We're going to simply check if this exists. Alright, so if this one exists, then here let's check abort unless this variable is true. Then I'm going to return a 403, which is forbidden. Here, for example, let me refresh. Actually, I think for this user, I belong here. But now, if I go to this other user, right here, I click on chat 4, but if I go to chat 3, you see it's going to return forbidden because I don't belong to this conversation. So now it's working fine. Alright, now after doing that, now let's actually set the receiver, this variable. This receiver to this conversation get receiver. Now this variable, we created it in the conversation model to just get the user who is currently like the other user in the conversation. Right. Now we can actually go to our chat in here. Let's close this web. Let's open our chat blade. In the header, let's now set the rule name for the user. So for example, here it says fake name, you just replace this with receiver. Now if you go, you see now if I refresh this, see now the name which is here saying Hala is also the name which is appearing here. So this is working good. Now let's go ahead and actually update our user in this profile section. So now if we go, let's scroll down from the body, close the footer, and here in the profile section, right here, if you see, we're using the user before. So now just to maintain consistency, for us, we're going to delete this one. And then let's scroll down, hit where it says user. Now for this, just to maintain consistency, let's select this user variable and let's click Shift Command L to select all occurrences of this user variable. And here let's replace this with receiver. On Windows it might be Control Shift L, but on Mac it's Shift Command L. So after that, now if we go and refresh, you see that the name which is appearing here is also appearing right here. Alright, so now before we close, we have to make sure that here on the left, you see that this conversation is selected, but it's not been highlighted here. So as right now, what we're going to do is that we're going to go to, let's open our tabs. Here in our tabs, when looping through our message, here we're setting this variable border and a border right. With this, if the I here is 3, which is just something static. So let's make it dynamic by saying request chat is equals to conversation ID. So we're checking if this chat, which is coming from the browser right here, this variable is equals to the current looped conversation ID from here, if these ones match. This is not really the most efficient way, but for now let's just use this. Right, so now as you can see on the left here, the conversation is actually selected right there. If I have multiple, it's going to highlight which conversation I'm actually in and I'm actually chatting. I think that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.